Well, the latest polling shows that One Nation has surged past Labor in the first major poll since Treasurer Jim Chalmers handed down his budget, breaking election promises by announcing changes to negative gearing and capital gains tax. This poll by Roy Morgan found that primary support for One Nation was at 32%, while Labor held just 28.5% of the vote, the Coalition at 16.5%, the Greens at 11.5%. This is extraordinary. This is a political party that got roughly 6% at the last election, and now this party is leading in the polls. I mean, watch this space. Australians are certainly sending a clear message. This poll also comes after One Nation secured its second seat in the lower house at last weekend's Farrer by-election, which had the ABC in meltdown.
A big and dangerous mistake to legitimise One Nation and to embolden One Nation. I used the term earlier on in the broadcast, the permission structure. If they are able to win their first lower house seat, that begins the process of legitimising them. And in other electorates where they may run, voters thinking, well, it's happened before, it's normal now. You start normalising something.
Well, you can imagine their shock today after this poll has been released. I caught up with One Nation leader Pauline Hanson yesterday, who says this is just the beginning. Joining us now is One Nation leader Pauline Hanson. Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for your time. We'll get to the budget in just a moment, but first of all, congratulations on your party's win in Farrer. What does this mean for One Nation going forward?
It means so much, and I think to a lot of Australians out there who are looking for hope and change, it says to them, well, a vote for One Nation is not a wasted vote, but that we can actually get people elected to Parliament. I think a lot of people would shocked by the 40% vote that we got in that electorate, considering it was held by the Coalition for 77 years. So it's a good indication. I'm buoyed by it. I think it's wonderful. And I just want to say to people, you know, this is the start. We are going to call the government and future governments, whether it's the Labor or the Coalition government, or ourselves for that matter, but there has to be accountability for the people, and that's all they've been crying out for. Don't forget about us. You know, you work for us.
Let's talk about the budget. Labor, of course, broke its election tax promises, confirming changes to negative gearing, capital gains and family trusts, pretending that this will help young people. I've heard you speak about this, calling Labor's budget communism. We are standing by to get your own budget reply later tonight. What can we expect?
Yeah. Look, I want to put across a vision for Australia. OK, I'm against what they've done because you're taking from those people that have worked extremely hard. You know, a lot of these people, like myself, a baby boomer, we went without. I actually had second-hand clothing, second-hand furniture. We didn't have the number of TVs and we didn't have a number. Well, there's no mobile phones. We didn't go to the restaurants. We had to save. What we saved, we put into investments. And those investments, you know, gave us the ability to provide for ourselves and later in life. And a lot of us now are helping our children because the cost of living is ridiculous. In our day, you could buy a house for 3 times your age. Now it's about 15 plus times, 16 plus times. So I get where the young ones are finding it very hard and struggling. The government's not helping them either with the 5% deposit because that's only putting them in more stress and more mortgage cost with the rising interest rates that is happening. So what we want to do is give the Australian people hope. You know, our tax is on income splitting. We're looking at pensioners being able to work unlimited hours. It doesn't affect their pension or their healthcare card. I want, you know, future building infrastructure projects that we need to introduce in Australia to give us the wealth that we need. There was nothing in the Labor's budget about that, nothing whatsoever. There's no vision for the future. And Labor, and I point this out to people, Labor were cunning in this budget to say we're going to give you a $250, you know, tax relief. That's to every Australian. Doesn't matter whether you're a millionaire, a billionaire, or those people that are struggling. They did this last time. That equates to about $5 a week. So anyone who opposes it, that's not good fiscal management. That's a scam, because when it comes to the next election, if anyone votes against it, they're going to use it in their ad campaigns to say, oh, you voted against a tax cut. Remember, people, you've already given this money to the government because they're making another $15 billion in personal tax and another $13 billion out of the superannuation. So this is the government that's done most tax grabs out of your pocket because they can't control their spending.
It's interesting you say that, because we've heard from plenty of Australians, some with our reporter out in the streets, getting their reaction to the $250. A lot of people saying, that's not even, it's not even $5 a week. Barely helps us. I think a lot of people are very angry about this budget, particularly after voters were essentially lied to. They didn't take this budget to an election. Time will tell whether this government will be able to get away with it. But I suspect that more people will be flocking to you, Pauline. But the question will be, I suppose, because our trust has been broken by the people in Parliament at the moment, will they be able to trust you?
Yeah. Look, I've been very consistent with my message for a long time, and the guts of the matter is mass migration has put us in the situation that we are. The government has only brought in all these people in the country to prop up their GDP. They've actually created this inflationary reaction that we have. The interest rates have risen higher than other countries around the world, and it's not working. So they are abusing the Australian people. It's the people out there that are living in poverty. The cost of living has risen because of the net zero impact. The cost of electricity drives cost of living in the average household. Small businesses, 50,000 small businesses have gone insolvent under this government. Over 1,400 industries and manufacturing have closed down. That tells you something. They can't manage an economy. And I've got no time for this government. This is redistributing wealth from those that have worked hard for it, paid our taxes on the way, and because they can't rein in their spending, giving our money away to other countries, we need to pull our heads in, pay down our debt. That's how you're going to help the future generations. Don't leave them with a huge debt, because they'll never have the services that we are enjoying now, but it's on the decline. So what I'm trying to do, bring back industry, manufacturing, productivity, real wages, reduce your cost of living, get rid of net zero, get rid of the department altogether, allow the farms to farm, and get rid of all these solar panels, wind turbines on it. That is not improving at all.
Yeah, look, when you look at the future and what it looks like for young Australians at the moment, it's a disaster, and you're making a lot of sense. I want to get your thoughts on Angus Taylor. Of course, a lot of people will be watching his budget in reply speech tonight. He's reportedly going to be proposing cuts to Australia's net migration, only one person per new home built, and also set to scrap access to welfare support for non-citizens. What do you make of that move?
It's all One Nation's policies, because what they're saying, what it equates to is around about 130,000 people coming in. That's spot on for my number of migrants I have said should be allowed into the country until we clean up our own backyard. Then you review it and see if we can bring in more people into the future. Now, as far as he's also picked up another One Nation policy of an 8 years before you get your citizenship. That's been my policy for years and years. I've spoken about it on the floor of Parliament. So Angus Taylor has drifted towards One Nation's policies and what I stand for, because Farrer by-election was a rude awakening to them that they have failed the Australian people. So they're jumping on board with my policies and what needs to happen. That's great. If I've, given them some hope of where they need to go to get this country back on track, fair enough. But maybe should tune into my speech as well, and what we want to achieve for this government. It's about us working together for this country. Forget about, I'm not the enemy, he's not the enemy. Our enemy is Labor, the Greens and the Teals. They're the ones that are destroying this country. So what I say is work together what we want to achieve for the people out there. It's not about us, it's about the people and future generations.
One Nation leader Pauline Hanson, thank you so much for your time and speaking with us here on Power Hour. Brilliant to get your insights. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
A party once written off as a protest vote just cracked 32% in a national poll. Labor's trailing, the coalition's in the rearview mirror, and the woman behind it all is grinning like she's just watched her rivals step on every rake in the yard. Here is the scoreboard. A fresh Roy Morgan poll has One Nation sitting on 32% primary vote, ahead of Labor on 28.5% and light years past the Coalition on 16.5%. Remember, One Nation started the last federal election around 6%. That is not growth, that is a rocket launch. And the fuel behind that rocket, the Farrer by-election. This seat sat comfortably in coalition hands for 77 years. Think of it as the political equivalent of a family home nobody expected to ever sell. One Nation walked in and took it with around 40% of the vote. Suddenly, a party dismissed as fringe looks a lot more like furniture in the lower house. So why the surge? Follow the money, or rather, follow the broken promises. Voters were told one thing on tax and got another on negative gearing, capital gains and family trusts. Add a $250 rebate that works out to roughly a coffee a week, and you have got a public that feels, quite frankly, taken for a ride. Now transition to the cost of living pain, because this is where Pauline Hanson really sharpens the knife. She argues net zero policies and mass migration are quietly strangling household budgets, pushing up power bills, squeezing small business, and making the old 3 times your income house rule feel like ancient history, replaced by something closer to 15 or 16 times income. Whether you agree or not, that housing maths lands like a gut punch to anyone renting in this economy. Here is the twist, though. This is not just a One Nation story anymore. Coalition figures like Angus Taylor are borrowing pages straight from Hanson's playbook. Migration caps, faster citizenship timelines, tighter welfare rules. When your rivals start copying your homework, that is not imitation, that is validation. Hanson is not selling herself as a protest anymore. She is selling permanence, economic realism, national sovereignty, and a promise that a vote for her is not wasted, it is a message. Whether that message reshapes Canberra or fizzles out is the story worth watching all the way to the next election. That is the wrap for today. Thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one.